History tells us that Christopher Columbus discovered America, but that story begins far too late. Long before European empires, before conquest and colonization, ships from the frozen north cut through the Atlantic toward a land already inhabited. This is the story of the Black Viking, Thorhall the Hunter, and the Norse leader Thorfinn Karlsefni, who reached the Americas centuries before Columbus and came face to face with black indigenous Americans. Their journey began with whispered accounts heard in Brattahlid, known today as Kasiarsuk, of a fertile land across the sea rich with resources and people. Driven by curiosity and ambition, Karlsefni and Thorhall prepared ships and gathered men for a voyage into the unknown. Thorhall the Hunter was no ordinary Viking. He had long served Eric the Red as a huntsman in the summers, and a steward in the winters, and was described in the sagas as a large, powerful man, black in complexion, giant-like in stature, silent in nature, harsh in speech, and deeply familiar with uninhabited lands. With his experience and strength, he became a central figure in the discovery of new territories. Alongside 160 men, they sailed south from Greenland and after 2 days reached land now known as Baffin Island, in present-day Nunavut, Canada. They continued southeast and discovered a wooded region filled with wild beasts, which they called Bear Island, then traveled onward to Stream Island and finally arrived at a place called Howe, believed by archaeologists to be in northeastern New Brunswick. The land overflowed with fish and game, but one early morning the Norse were confronted by countless canoes approaching, their poles striking together like wind through straw. Unsure of what it meant, Karlsefni asked for guidance, and his companion Snorri Thorbrandsson advised raising a white shield as a sign of peace. The gesture worked and the canoes drew closer, revealing black indigenous people with coarse hair, large eyes and broad cheeks, whom the Vikings called Skrælingjar. The Norse later moved south to prepare for winter and traded clothing, furs, and weapons with the indigenous Americans before eventually departing.